2 years from now, AI art will cease to exist. Now, I know what you're thinking, this is a contradiction. Isn't AI art supposed to make things easier and not make things disappear? But what if I told you that AI won't just replace artists, but evolve our craft in a way that both AI art as well as our craft will not exist in the future? Now, in order to understand how AI art will die in the next couple of years, we first have to understand how it was born and why it rose to fame as quickly as it did. The start of AI art happened when smart computer programs called neural networks, whatever that even means, learned to copy the way people create. As these computer programs got better, the art they made got better too. This made it more and more popular, and as we know, when something becomes very popular, it's only a matter of time before people want to be part of that hype. For example, me making this video. And so the hype around AI art reached its peak when collaborations between AI and well-known artists like Trevor Paglen and Sak-Wen Chung started to make headlines in major publications like the New York Times and The Guardian. You know, these magazines that used to be famous but now kind of are dying out because of social media. Anyway, suddenly everyone wanted a piece of this seemingly magical technology. The term AI artist became a buzzword overnight, and people couldn't get enough of this new thing. But why couldn't they get enough of this new thing? There are so many new things happening in the world all around us all of the time, and none of them seem to get the same amount of hype. Why this? Well, the main reason is that this technology made it extremely easy for regular people to become artists themselves in a matter of seconds. They only had to write one line on a computer and bam, now they create amazing art. And if there's one thing that people really love in the world, it's a quick and easy way to become rich and famous just like an artist. And so at this point, it was only a matter of time before this new thing would conquer the entire world. But just like with anything, if it's possible to go up, it's also possible to go down, and that's exactly what is going to happen. Let me explain. The first question we have to ask ourselves is, why are artists making art in the first place? I mean, a lot of artists are making art and not making any money from it. Millions of artists are not making any money from their creations, and yet they are doing it for decades on end. And the reason they are doing that is of course because there's more than the money that they could potentially gain from it, and the fame, the hype that they could potentially gain from it. It's just like with working out. If you're working out, you're most likely not gonna make money from that, but there are inherent benefits that you get regardless of the fame that would come, regardless of the money that would come. And so let's take a look at these inherent benefits that you get if you make art. Creating art can improve an individual's focus and concentration by promoting mindfulness and a sense of flow states. Number 2, art helps improve cognitive functions such as memory and attention by stimulating the brain and promoting neural connections. Number 3, creating art can reduce stress levels as it provides a relaxing and engaging outlet for self-expression. There are obviously more benefits. I'm not going to go over all of them, but you get the point. And so when thinking about the longevity of this trend, the question that we should ask ourselves is, do we get any of those benefits from making AI art? Now, there is no research on this yet because AI art is too young, but I have a strange feeling that writing a prompt on a computer and then letting a machine do everything else is not going to result in increased memories or increased concentration levels or any of the things that we mentioned above. And what does that mean? Well, it means that people are making AI art not because of the benefits, but because of the hype, because of the trend, because there is some kind of fame connected to it at this moment. And so what is going to happen when this hype, this trend dies out and it's just AI art? Are people still going to be making AI art if the trend is gone and the benefits are also gone? Because they never existed in the first place. Well, again, it's very hard to know what is going to happen in the future, but I have a strange feeling that people will not be doing that anymore. Because think about this. Let's take working out, for example. Would you be working out or would you be doing sport if it's an hour a day of madness and exhaustion, but you don't get increased muscle mass, you don't get cardiovascular health, you don't increase your lung capacity, you don't look better, you don't lose fat, and you basically don't get any of the benefits? Would you still be working out? Of course not. Of course, nobody would be doing that. And so one of the questions that I'm asking myself is, what is going to be carrying the hype 2 years from now, when there is no hype left? It's probably not a surprise anymore to hear that these AI companies are extremely good at committing a crime, namely stealing from artists and committing copyright infringement. And the best way for me to show you that visually is just to show you what they are capable of. On the left side you see famous artists, famous works that artists have spent years and years and years on to craft, to create, to invent. And on the right side you see the copies generated by AI based on their large data set of images, which is basically a set of images that is stolen from artists, from artworks on the internet. And this is a very interesting thing because it basically means that we are seeing large companies stealing from millions of people in a matter of weeks, and everybody seems to be okay with this. But beyond that, in line with our question, is AI going to survive? Is AI art specifically going to survive? Well, this is complicating things. If you are going to fight lawsuits, not only is that going to be extremely expensive, are there ethical and moral implications that will impact your brand, but it might also be partially shut down. And so what are some of the possible things that could potentially happen? Well, let's say that a court decides that they cannot use that database of images anymore that has been created basically by other artists. Well, then they need to create their own database, and they simply can't do that. It costed us hundreds of years to create the artworks that we have today. You cannot simply create that in a matter of weeks. And sure, the images of Da Vinci might not be copyrighted anymore in the same way because he's been dead for 500 years, but still, there are a lot of images that have been created from recent artists in the last 50 years, and simply recreating that to have a system that is somewhat contemporary, that can create somewhat modern, realistic pieces would take, well, we've tested it out. It would literally take 50 years to do that. And so what is going to happen if AI companies cannot use these images anymore? Well, the quality of their systems, the quality of these image generators will go down drastically. And then we can ask ourselves, well, are people going to use these lower quality image generators in the future the same way they are using them now? And I obviously don't have the answer to the question, but I have a strange feeling that people will not be as excited anymore if the quality goes down that dramatically. Now, the biggest problem with AI art is not the lack of benefits or the legal aspect, but the economy behind it. Because AI art is challenging the way we buy and sell art. The first question we have to ask ourselves is, how is the value of an artwork determined in the traditional art market? And the answer to that is, of course, pretty complex, but to simplify it, just to name a couple of things that will have an impact, well, the artist's reputation will have an impact, as well as the time and effort invested in making the artwork. In an upcoming video, I will explain how Jordan Castile puts a price point of $800,000 on her artwork, and one of the key elements in her strategy is not making a lot of artwork. She only makes a couple of bigger pieces a year, and so there's a lot of scarcity in her art. Now, when we look at AI art, we can obviously see that there is no scarcity whatsoever. AI art is challenging these concepts of scarcity, of time invested in an artwork, and human creativity, because if you make art with AI, you can make an unlimited amount of pieces in a matter of hours. And not just that, everybody else who also has access to those AI systems can use those systems to make an unlimited amount of artworks that are the same as your artworks. And because AI is creating these artworks, you cannot really copyright them as well. And well, we just addressed copyright issues, and you clearly saw that nobody really cares about copyright infringement in the AI art space. And so, is there scarcity? No, there is no scarcity. And so in order for AI art to survive for years on end, it needs to change the entire economical system around art, because now it is predicated on scarcity. And is it able to do that? Well, I don't really know, but I personally believe it's not really going to be able to do that, because scarcity is not just something in the art world, it's something that is ingrained in human DNA. It is something that is evolved over millions of years of evolution. There's this one study that they did with babies where they gave babies a set of toys. One particular toy was in large supply. There were a lot of those toys available, and the other toy was very hard to grab, and there was only one of them available. And then they observed what toys the babies wanted to play with. And you guessed it, babies naturally were drawn to the one toy that was hard to grab, that was very, very scarce. And so scarcity is something that is naturally attractive to human beings. And scarcity is not part of the AI art community. And the reality is that technology can change every single year if you wanted to, but human psychology never changes. And so if we assume that AI art or AI in general cannot change the laws of economics, cannot change human psychology, then the follow-up question is, of course, can we create AI art that is scarce? And there are a couple of options there. Well, the first option is that artists will invent their own AI systems and then use those systems to create art that only they can create because they have access to those systems. Now, this would of course take months of work, and then you can ask yourself, well, why would you do that if you can just make regular art? Why would you spend so much time in creating your own system? I'm sure there will be artists that will answer that question in the next couple of years, but can we then still speak of AI art? If we use the word AI art for things that can be created in seconds, then we cannot really use the same word anymore for things that will be created in months. And so that's the first option. The second option is that artists will create their own data set of images and then use those AIs and let them run, let them train on their personal data set of images. But if you paid close attention, you can notice that something strange happens here. At this moment, artists are not really artists anymore. They become curators. They become curators of data sets of images. And so we will see a merging of the curator and artist. The artist as a curator and the curator as an artist. And so this is a very strange landscape. Again, the same question, can we then still speak of AI art if we've used that word for something as easy as creating in a couple of seconds? Probably not, because creating a data set that is this vast and this large and this deep would take you months at the very minimum. And so again, we have a lot of work there. The creations that will come out of that will be of a much higher value, a much higher quality than the AI artworks that we are seeing right now. Now at this moment we've only addressed how AI art will impact artists, curators, galleries and things like that, but the art market is of course much vaster than that, and art in general is much bigger than that. Another thing that I'm thinking about is museums that are going to use AI to start recognizing patterns amongst artworks, because AI is obviously way better at that than human beings. I don't really know. If you have ideas about that, put it in the comment section. And are we then going to see particular groupings of artworks, particular movements that existed in the past and we simply didn't even discover it yet? I have another video called AI art is bad for everyone, not just artists. Link in the description and in the end screen. That said, get the hell out of here.